In our stock versus series, what we try to do is compare two companies from the same industry on the Jamaica Stock Exchange. In this case, we'll be comparing Image Plus Consultants Limited, otherwise known as Apex, with Elite Diagnostics. Elite was listed in 2018 and came to the market at a price of $2 per share. Apex would have come to the market for, I believe it was January 2023. Their IPO was also $2 per share. We're going to be looking at the performance of both companies maybe over the last 3 years, since that's the amount of data we've been able to get on Apex's side. Now, we are able to sometimes go up to 5 years, but I think 3 years here is reasonably relevant to our discussion. I'm joined by a friend of mine, Matthew Preston from Limitless Podcast, so he'll be joining on the discussion, and all we're seeking to do is kind of compare these companies, see how they perform in terms of revenues, compare their products and services, compare how they've been growing their businesses, talk about some of the metrics that may be valuable, all with the aim of providing you with valuable information so that you can make your own investment decisions. So let's just jump right into it.
Learning is the key to successful investing, and who doesn't want to invest in some way?
Here at L.E.A.R.N. Grow Invest, we focus on financial education, all with the aim of sharing our knowledge on personal finance, investing, and building wealth. We do this on the foundation of our faith in God.
If a more holistic approach is what you need, check out our Grow Faith-based financial coaching program.
Find out more about us at learngrowinvestclub.com
and follow us on all social media platforms at Learn Grow Invest.
All right, welcome back. Let us pray. Thank you, Lord, for the ability to produce wealth. We pray, Lord, for wisdom, knowledge, and understanding as we seek to make wise investment decisions for our families and for the generations to come. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, so let us get started. Hey, Matthew, how are you doing?
Hey, what's good, Jermaine?
Not much. I know you've been, well, thank you for agreeing to join me for this conversation. I figured with your area of expertise, this would be an interesting one for you to join. So the guidelines that I've given Matthew, guys, is that, we're just going to make it an open discussion where we talk about these companies. I've asked Matthew to be as objective as possible, but, we're human. I'm imagining his preferences may come out within the conversation, but I mean, that's all a part of the conversation, right? So if you want to think about it as a stocks to watch episode, you can, but we're only going to be talking about these two companies, right? So it's more of the same where we just share our thoughts. We're going to evaluate the information about the company, sure, but it's all going to be us sharing ultimately our opinion on what we're seeing and where we think both companies are headed. Right. So certainly I have to say for the both of us before we start that this information is for discussion, education, entertainment, and illustrative purposes only, and should not be construed as professional financial advice, solicitation, or recommendation to buy or sell Apex or Image Plus Consultants Limited or Elite Diagnostics. We are not, at the point of this video, we're not licensed financial advisors. That may change in the future, but for now we're not. So we're not licensed to give advice, right? Okay, so how you want to do this, Matthew? I can go through the data on the Image Plus side. You can go to speak about Elite. What we'll pretty much do is take information from the resources that we have, like websites, annual reports, JSE, etc. So for example, this data that we have here, it was taken from the annual report for both. So I can go through the one for Image Plus as we go through the slides, and you can speak to Elite, and then we join in for the discussion later on.
Yeah, sure, man.
Sounds good. Okay. All right. Okay, and before I do that, actually, I see some persons have started to comment already. Let us know your thoughts on both companies as we're going through. If you have any questions that you'd like to have answered from both companies, let us know. We have actually tried to reach out to the Elite Diagnostics CEO. Wait, let me take that back. Did I? I think I might have, but I'm not sure. Like I've reached out to a lot of CEOs, right? But I believe I looked into it once. Maybe I've reached out, but I'll double check. If not, we'll try to get him. Um, I'm assuming it's a him for an interview,
Yeah, it
and
is.
we already know we have a lot. We have a standing earnings call with Image Plus, so we're gonna be hearing from them very soon. My guess is within the next 2 weeks. All right. So if you have those questions, just type them in the comments, and we'll get to them as soon as we can. All right. So it says here Image Plus Consultants Limited, trading as Apex Radiology, is a medical imaging company established in February 1996 and became a publicly listed company on January 2023. Our services include multiple modalities such as X ray, ultrasound, CT, fluoroscopy, and nuclear medicine, and they are easily accessible, being in close proximity to other healthcare providers and medical services. In July of this year, that was last year, they launched their mammography services at their Malines Road branch and their Ocho Rios branch, adding to their list of offerings. Later in 2023, they will also launch their MRI services in Ocho Rios, bringing more offerings to their clientele as they continue to grow. Now, um, Shelly, and I see your comment. I apologize sincerely, right? I know I kept on moving this date, but we needed to get Matthew here. Matthew was a special guest that we're trying to get a hold of. He's been very busy with Limitless podcast, and so I'm kidding, guys. That's not true, but there's no time like that point in time, right? So the services for Image Plus were listed all in their prospectus. We'll actually be looking at that a little later. So Matthew, you want to go ahead with Elite?
Oh, just want me to. Okay.
Yeah, as well as just adding anything that you know about them as well.
Um. Okay. So Elite Diagnostics, as you have here on the slide, they were incorporated in 2012, and they opened their doors at their Holborn Road location. The company was established with the vision of providing high quality professional medical diagnostic services at an affordable price. And in February 2018, they listed on the junior market. And since then, they've expanded their services. They've opened 2 additional locations, one in Ligonier, which is right on Old Hope Road, right near to the KFC, if you guys know, and another one in Draxhall, St. Anne. And they said they are, well, here it says they're open 7 days a week. That's not, well, based on what I saw, I don't think that's
Interesting.
actually true
That's
for
not what I
all.
know. I've
Yeah, that's the
actually
thing. It's
been
not all the
to,
branches. Some of them,
yeah,
I think one of them is open 7 days a week,
yeah.
but not all of them. Yeah.
Okay. I've
Um.
actually done a scan at that location that you mentioned up by near the
Yeah,
KFC.
because it's a really, if you meant it, it's a pretty good location
A
because
really nice
it's
location.
pretty. It's right close to UE.
Yeah.
So if there was a point where a machine was like you couldn't get a scan at UE, like you're a patient at UE, and say something happened to the machine, to my knowledge, Elite is probably the closest one. So,
And I've actually been to a few doctors, or at least the doctors I've been to. I actually didn't realize that you could use the same write up to go with either.
oh yeah.
But quite a bit of doctors I've gone to, they seem to have the elite pad. So maybe that's just relationships being built with those particular doctors, etc.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, I mean, it was actually when I wanted to. It was when what, this is a personal story. I'm gonna exclude it, right? Anyway, let's continue. So right here we have a summary of their services. I mean, I believe for the most part it's the same, right? But we have here, I think for Elite's report, they mentioned the endoscopic ultrasound, and it says only one of its kind in the Caribbean. So, Matthew, I don't know if you know enough about that to confirm, but that's what it said in their last annual report. But X-ray, CT scan, ultrasound, fluoroscopy seems to be quite common. The interventional medicines were where I think Apex was saying it's an area that they're exploring. I believe in the prospectus, the interventional. Let me see if we can probably even just find that, right. I believe that was an area that they were looking to invest in. Um,
Which area, sorry?
was that the interventional medicine? Was that the new area that they were looking at?
Yeah, I think they said that they wanted to
Yeah,
expand those services. I think it's only one
yeah.
of their branches, the main one, which is basically further down the road from Elite. I think that's where they said they have it.
Okay,
Check.
okay,
Oh no, they have it at say Winchester, Old Hope Road, and Winchester Medical.
okay. And I know this breakdown that Apex had in their prospectus kind of shows. I think they did a comparison in terms of them and other companies. That's actually what
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to find.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, that's
So
actually really cool.
exactly, I thought so as well. So it shows here what the services that Elite offers. So MRI, CT scans, ultrasound, X-ray. So it mentions interventional here as well. But there are three branches and opening on Saturday. Parishes are here. I believe it has theirs as well. Um, when I looked at that list,
Mm-hmm.
for me, Matthew, all of these lists just looks like opportunities for either Elite
Acquisition.
or Apex, yeah, to acquire. And I think we asked on the interview with Keisha if they'd be interested in such.
Mm-hmm.
She gave the answer I think that you would give, where you don't necessarily want to give anything away, but I think it would make sense to look at something like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that covers the services that they offer, right? So more or less the same. The endoscopic ultrasound seems to be unique to Elite. Um, and there was I'm trying to remember specifically what Apex mentioned was unique to them. I don't think it's the interventional because I'm seeing that there for Elite as well. Trying to remember the name of this service. But either way, they're looking to explore a new era of service, and they think that it's something that can add to what they're offering. That's pretty much what I'm trying to find. Um, I was hoping that you'd have remembered it, Matthew.
You said
It
it's
was
something that Apex is doing that no one else is doing, or that Elite isn't doing.
it seemed to be an era that they're looking to that's relatively new to the market. I would necessarily say that they're the only one doing it, but it sounded like something that they saw
I remember
a
Apex said
great
they wanted to go into
opportunity.
mammograms.
Yeah, I know they mentioned that as well.
Mm.
Um, interventional. I can't remember. Elaine is asking if it's nuclear medicine. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I don't remember the name of it right now, but we covered it in our interview. But pretty much what we're seeing is that the services are similar here. So that's that. In terms of statistics about the companies, um, we see here where the market cap for Image Plus is 2.5 billion, and the market cap for Elite is 830 million. Now this is just a function of the number of shares outstanding and the price. We see where Elite actually has only 353 million shares outstanding, and Image Plus has 1.2. Any comments on that, Matthew? Do you think that that means maybe stock split for Elite?
Um, nah, I don't think that's how it works. I don't think that's how it works.
Oh boy. Um, well, I guess it would make sense to look at. I'm not sure if Elite is one of those companies where I say that jokingly, of course, guys, because there are um, stock splits are all the rage now. But there are companies where, of course, the number of shares in the top 10, some of them are exceeding 90%, for example. So that's another story here. But number of shares outstanding is different here, and of course that's why the market cap would be significantly different solely based on that, right? Because that looks like almost a 4x difference, right? 700, almost 4x. difference in terms of shares. The price for Image Plus is actually lower. It IPO'd at the same price. I don't know if many people noticed that, because I know persons made a big deal about the $2 IPO price. Elite actually came out at $2 as well. I don't remember the all-time high for Elite. I'd love to find that out though. Let me see. Elite made it all the way to $7. You remember those days?
No, I don't think I was investing then.
In 2019, I see a price close here for about $6.95, which means potentially it
August.
might have made it over $7 that day, which is interesting, right?
Yeah, let's see, $7.05.
$7.05.
That's the high I see. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So it's been to that high, and I believe Image Plus hasn't passed maybe 215, 220 thereabout, right? But of course, the difference in terms of months listed, 6 months versus 63 months, big difference there, right? So when we get to the numbers, the financials, etc., we'll talk about the difference in terms of revenues, etc. And as we said, the IPO price was the same. Our revenues, let's talk about the numbers now for a little bit. So we're going to go through the revenues, gross profit, net profit. Then we can talk about, I guess, things like footprint of the company in terms of asset base, etc. Just about anything you think relevant there, Matthew, to look up. But what we're seeing here is a difference in terms of Elite and Image Plus in terms of revenue. So for 2020 they were similar, but for 2021, 2022, Image Plus actually was able to do very well. I believe they had their $1 billion quarter for their last quarter for 2023 for Image Plus. That's their most recent quarter. So Image Plus would be doing well there. In terms of gross profit though, significant difference for 2022, and of course Image Plus would be ahead in terms of gross profit for 2020 and 2021. And then finally, net earnings. I thought this was very interesting to see, where I believe for 2022, Image Plus did 94 million in net profit, and Elite did about 48 million, right? So almost double in terms of net profit for 2022, in terms of the two companies. So let's look at, have some more data in the most recent reports. I thought that we could start there. So Matthew, which one you want to look at? You want to look at the most recent Q for Elite?
Yeah, can start there.
All right, so this is their Q3 ending March. All right. All right, so I'll let you lead. You just tell me where to go.
You can go to the income statement.
Okay.
Yeah, scroll up a bit. Yeah. So yeah, you see, comparing. Let's look at March 2023 versus 2022. Revenues were up. You can see that the gross profits did increase, yes, but what really hit them hard, which basically has, if you look back at Elite, that's literally always been their major issue, is that their machines tend to go down a lot. So their CT scans, their MRI machines, they go down a lot. So that's really what is factored into the high or the increase in their admin expenses and depreciation also. So you can see that even though gross profit was increased over March last year, and March last year was actually a really good quarter for them. You can see that once those they can't control those admin expenses and depreciation right now. So that results in them basically, barely making a profit. If you go back up, management does touch on this. I feel like they always, literally, I think the last 3 reports, every single report I looked at, there's a note about, machines went down, this, that. Where is it? So you see, scroll up a little. Where is it? Yeah. So yep,
While
see that?
incurring
So
additional
this
maintenance costs and depreciation.
loss of revenue due to machine downtime
Wow.
continue from the second quarter, and the second quarter for them is when again? But they have a weird reporting period.
A weird reporting period.
Pull it up.
Their third
Q2 for
quarter
the
ended
October to
March.
December.
Okay.
So
Is it
this
October to December? Because their
is it.
Q3 ended March 31st. So
Oh,
there seems to be July to June.
oh yeah, for third quarter. Sorry, yeah, January. Wait, go again. Let me go back to the notice. It
Well,
says
this says here third quarter as at March
no, as in the
31st.
report. The report.
Okay,
Let me see.
okay, okay.
Continued from the second quarter into the first 5 weeks of the third quarter. So yeah, from October to December, so the Christmas quarter basically, and then continued over into the beginning of this year. And you see that they explain basically, that if our machine, the thing is, think about it, if the machines are down, if I'm someone who wants to go to Elite, I want a CT scan, I want an MRI scan, I call Elite, I'm like, okay, I want to do a scan here. They're like, oh, we can't do it right now, our machine is down. That's lost revenue or lost business for you.
Mm-hmm.
And then you then have to spend extra money to fix the machine. So it raises your cost too. So it really is, I feel like that really is the.
So what's the solution there? Because it sounds like a long standing issue. Is it a matter of just needing to commit the resources to replace it? Is it something that speaks to maybe their management approach? I mean, I know these machines can't possibly be easy to replace, but do you remember them saying anything about having a plan to replace them? Because if
I swear,
they're having to go in maintenance.
almost every quarter I hear something different, or I saw something different. So some of the stuff I saw at one point, I think this was last year maybe, they were saying one of the things that they were going to try to do was work with their repairmen. Excuse me. So say what they were saying was that some of the parts, for say the CT or the MRI machine, instead of having to wait for them to be imported to then repair it, which would add that delay, especially if we were having a lot of shipping issues, especially last year and the years before.
Yeah, but if they keep
got
breaking
them.
down, it's better to just.
Yeah, I know that's one thing. So one of the things they were saying was just, okay, we would try to have the parts so that we could fix it faster if it were to break down. Because one of the things that they're saying is that technically, they say that CT and MRI machines are just prone to that because of apparently a lot of the moving parts and whatever. I do hear a lot of machines going down, but I've never heard it. I mean, I guess Apex recently
never
listed.
heard it for Apex. Have you heard that for Apex?
I mean, they recently listed to at least say that, but I guess time will tell to see how Apex does. The other thing, they've been trying to get new machines. So I think it was maybe last year they said they bought a MRI machine, and I think this year they also bought like a CT machine. So one of their strategies was, okay, if this machine goes down, we'll just buy another one, and then so we have two machines. So if one of them goes down, we at least have the other one. That's basically that's literally what their strategy was for one of the stuff. And I guess time will tell. To be honest,
that
would
definitely impact. Yeah, that would definitely impact customer sentiment, though, right? And Elaine is right. I think you're saying the updates are capital intensive, right? So that's something that's gonna impact. And so you may, for example, let's say you have to pay a deposit or pay in full for it. You're gonna have a big expenditure, and you maybe have to wait 3 to 6 months to get that. And then once that is installed, the installation is gonna have a cost, and then for you to start seeing revenues for that. So that could definitely impact them. But I think based on the frequency of that issue, it may make sense. It's just like driving a used car. If it keeps giving you problems, you just buy a new one, right? That's kind of how I see it.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So let's look at what else you want to look at here?
We can look at the cash flow statement.
Okay.
Can zoom out a little. Oh. So you can see from March this year versus last year, their net cash provided by operations is actually less compared to last year. Scroll down some more.
Yeah.
What were they doing in terms of their investments? So you can see, oh, March
Well, it
last year they
says
had
purchase
a
property, plant, and equipment here,
deposit
right?
on.
Is that a machine replacement maybe?
Maybe that's the. I think that's the CT. I think it was check if it was this quarter that they said they bought the CT machine, because in another, I think it's an article, they said the machines can basically run like 300k US to even more, like literally hundreds of
300K
millions
US,
sometimes,
that's what, like 50 million, right? 50 mil.
upwards
Now,
of that too. I think it's all up to like maybe a million or something. Quite
well,
expensive.
well, they definitely made some investment there just for that quarter, right? 158, and for the entire 2022, they spent 275, so more than half what they spent the entire 2022 they spent in a quarter. So either property or some equipment was replaced here. That's what it would seem like.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, they say, so if you go up, they said the acquisition of the CMN CT machine, which was fully
Okay.
commissioned in March 2023, associated debt financing liabilities.
Um, Same notes section here. Okay,
Yeah.
okay, I see it. Okay, perfect. All right, so that should at least address some of the challenges they've had. Um, that specifically CT, so that's good. All right. Installation of solar equipment is being coordinated, so that will also help with expense reduction.
Mm-hmm.
Our March 2023 performance can be taken as an indication of what a typical month can be in the absence of operational hitches. We remain confident in the growth prospects of the company. So this is an interesting statement, right? I guess they're wanting to give you, um, if they're able to resolve the machine challenges, maybe any downtime, then March 2023, what we saw there in terms of these numbers should be what the typical month is gonna be, right? That's what they're saying, typical quarter.
But if you even look at the reports for March 2022, I don't think they actually said anything about the machines being down for that quarter, which is why that quarter likely looks so good. And if you look
See,
at it, they're doing more revenue. They even, I think, had a higher gross profit margin for the March 2023 quarter. So they're doing more business now, higher gross profit margin. It's just, as once again, admin expenses fixing those machines. So,
yeah,
yeah, I think they really just have to try to find um, that
yeah.
balance, try to
It
sort out
says
those
machines
machines.
across the branches were
Yeah,
operational during the quarter. It's such an interesting thing to note in a report. Sorry.
they have to tell you that.
Yeah, it seems like such an interesting thing to state, right? Um,
Mm-hmm.
okay. It says here the arrival and installation of an additional MRI machine were further delayed due to unavailability of special vessel required to ship. Well, I'm guessing this would have already been
Yeah,
resolved
they
by
ended
now,
up getting it.
March
Yeah.
2022. All right, cool. So we're looking at cash flow for 2023. Um, so clearly they would have made some investment there, so that's good.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
And how
okay.
much cash are they sitting on? Yeah, I mean they have to spend the money. They just have
Yeah.
to. So yeah, spend the money
Yeah, I
now.
mean, I'm always for that, right? It's better that you made the investment, and I mean, it's something that you're investing in the growth of your business, right? So, I think that just makes sense.
Hmm.
All right. So let's do the same comparison for Image Plus. Let's look at
And
their
if you look
most
at it too, I
recent.
don't think they're gonna. I don't think they'd have an issue with financing because look at their top 10 shareholder list. There's NCB Cap Markets, and then
Yeah,
remember what's his name, Steven.
I noticed that when I was doing the review of them. So I don't think financing is an issue, right? I don't think financing is an issue. Kevin Donaldson, that name sounds familiar to us.
Hmm. And then
Stephen
look at
Gooden,
it,
that
Stephen
sounds
Gooden.
familiar.
Remember he recently, well, was it recently? Like was it last year? He bought a large stake from the number one shareholder. So yeah, look at who
Uh,
he is. Do you think he buys this large stake in this company, and the company needs money to do something to make them profitable?
mhm.
And look where he works. Look,
Yeah,
like it's
this
it's
just
just
seems obvious, right?
yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Shelly, and I agree. I'm like, it's so rare they have to state it. Um, great news. Our equipment worked well for this quarter. It is just such an interesting thing to state. But I mean, you can also look at it from the perspective that they want to assure you that things are okay now, right? So that's also a way to look at it. Um, and we see QWI investments here as well in the top 10. All right, cool. So let us go to Image Plus. I believe the last one was the annual report. Um, so we're not going to see the quarter for them. We're going to see, I think I have the annual report open already.
Their year end.
Yeah, we haven't seen their Q1 yet, right? So they just finished their financial year. Um, or should I? Did they have just a Q4? I don't think they did because they had the
No, they did.
prospectus
They did.
audited. They had their Q3. So do we compare this Q3 to the other Q3? Does that make sense?
Can look at both.
And I remember David mentioned there were some corrections needed there. I think those were submitted. All right, so all right, we're looking at the quarter in terms of revenue. So Elite did I think 202, right? Apex did 247. Gross profit was let me bring that back up here. I know the scrolling can be jarring for those
Wait,
viewing.
what are you comparing?
I was just looking at the quarter. I'm wondering if it makes sense to compare the quarters
What
in
was
this
in the
way.
revenue? I wouldn't really say that.
So 202 to 247. Gross profit was 135. Gross profit here is 165. And then profit is 23 here and it was 6 here. Right? So that was Apex for the quarter. Because I think for Apex and I got this kind of mixed up as well, right? Their financial year, theirs is definitely the odd one because it ends February.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so when we did their earnings call earlier this year, I was saying it's 2022, but it was their 2023. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, but in terms of for them here, there's finance costs here. But even with that of 7 million, they were able to do 23 million for that quarter. As we said, they finished the year at 94 million. Um, in terms of, we know that they would have purchased, well, they just acquired the property, right? The part of the proceeds of the IPO funds would have gone into acquiring a new property. So we know that is something that we're going to see from the probably reflected on the next statement. But in terms of cash, for that particular period, we're seeing at 8.2, and of course this one would be including the IPO proceeds, right? Dividends, proceeds from borrowing. Is it this one? No, this is the November. No, so it's the next one that would have the IPO funds, right? All right. So in terms of here as well, what's up? Let me just take some of the comments here before we go forward. Alain says he's heavily concentrated in the image. So here's the thing with Alain's comments. I cannot take them at face value because Alain will say this now, and by Friday he's in a different company.
So ask him to
So
quantify it. What percent, Alain?
yeah, I need.
What
No, I'm gonna need
percent?
proof. Like I'm gonna need to see a statement with his name on it, his JCSD number, his proof of address, like all of that stuff for Alain specifically. Um,
Buying is believing. He believes.
Roswell saying Image Plus is a buy. Sure expansion tells how much the company's business is doing. Alain is asking how do they plan to fund the new HQ? That's what the IPO fund was for, Alain. Right? As a part of it. Um, Everybody seems to be all about Image Plus here. What is Image Plus doing differently to not have the same constant issues? Right. So it's a good question, I think, right? Because how do we know that, I guess, eventually or down the line? I believe one of the questions that were asked to Keisha in our interview was what are they doing in terms of maintenance and upkeep of the machines. I remember those questions being asked. So if you guys check the interview we did with Keisha, I believe she commented on that for our CEO series interview,
You can
right?
imagine Apex is probably causing Elite like at Elite's next shareholder meeting or general meeting. They're probably gonna
Yeah,
get pressure from people who see Apex listed, see them making increasing revenues,
there
increasing
you go.
profits. Their machines aren't going down. They're like,
Yeah,
hey man, what's going on?
yeah, yeah. I mean, that's the nature of it, right? There's going to be comparison once you're listed in the same industry. And actually I never thought about this before, but that may be one of the reasons why Apex chose the listing price of $2 as well. That's because Elite listed at $2, and they saw what a company was able to do in terms of its peak on the market. Um, So Alain is saying one major concern for IPCL is the government contract. Should we have a change of government, how would this affect? I think those agreements will typically transcend who's in power, Alain. I don't think that would necessarily be an issue for something like this. Maybe it was a different type of service, um, but I don't think that's necessarily a concern. Um, yeah. All right, cool. So in terms of price history, I wanted to look at that for a little bit, but we don't have a lot of pricing data on Image Plus, right? But we can start there. That's probably simpler. So I'm using a platform called Ticker, guys. If you're interested, the link is in the description of this video for you to check it out. I am a Ticker affiliate. So if you decide to take any of their paid plans, we would get a commission. I'm using the pro version now. It's something that I use whenever we're doing any form of stock analysis on this channel. it seems to have all of the data for, especially, I remember, I think it was Palace I was looking at. I was able to see almost 20 years of data, right? So this has the same data that Bloomberg would have, right? So it says here image plus 6% return over 1 year. They've only been listed 6 months. So I don't believe it was updated based on where it ended today. This was at the 23rd. So that's the only thing with ticker. The data is not daily, meaning I think for today's data that may reflect tomorrow, because I guess it's when that reconciles. But not much to see here. The peak here is 225, and for elite, let's go to all here. So it's actually saying here it's down 27.8% price return over the last almost 5 years. As we saw, there was a peak of I think Matthew said 705, and now it's down to 235, right? So those persons who would have purchased at this point in 2019 would definitely be down significantly at this point. But then, of course, you have to think about where the company is headed and not where it's been, right? That's what I'd say there. And know that there's an opportunity to compare. I think a lot of persons will choose to do that, right? So Elaine says his dividend was over 30K, the most he's ever collected in the. So you telling us that gives us an idea as to how much you're holding. So we appreciate that. We appreciate that. All right. So one of the benefits we have with Ticker as well is the ability to look at the financial data ratios, etc. So Matthew, since Elite is your company, any particular ratios you want to look at?
Oh, I never said it was my company. Um, Let me see. What's the PE now?
Well, I
Tells you
don't think
PE.
it gives you price to earnings. That's the only thing that I don't
Oh,
believe we have,
isn't that
right?
like the most common one?
I know.
And it doesn't have
I
it?
think I think maybe usually when I want to find PE in a quick way, I use the Mayberry trade sheet. I haven't used it in a very long time.
I think it still
Um,
works.
huh?
Yeah, I
I
think it
don't
still
know.
works.
That's what we're gonna find out right now. That's the thing with the
No,
Mayberry trade sheet. It's a little bit tricky.
that's a
There are
big one.
days when it may work.
No, it's work well. For
Seems
Elite, they have 45 now, which I think is about right. So I guess some people would say overvalued.
I missed it. Tell me when you see it.
45. Just search it, Control F. Come
So you
on, aren't
sound
you an
like
IT
David.
guy?
Sound like David. No, I'm not. All right. So 45 is the PE. Image plus here is 10. So that's a difference there. Um,
Mm.
Let me see what else. It does a 12-month projected PE as well. So
Mm.
24 is a projected one for Elite. That's almost half, being reduced by half. So that's actually a good sign. Um,
Turn
and
on those machines.
huh?
They can
Yeah,
keep on the machines.
yeah. That's gonna be the factor that we're gonna watch to see.
Mm-hmm.
But their Q4 would be coming up, so we'll see. We'll see. All right. So PE is there. What are your thoughts on that?
Um, Oops, Jermaine's gone.
Yeah, man. Go ahead. I'm still here.
Oh,
Camera cable does this from time to time.
oh, damn. Um, I mean, I guess, yeah, PE, look at it. Remember that it's always in the past. So we're trying to, buy for the future. So something with Elite, what I would say is that even though right now it might look quite sticky for it, you're seeing losses after losses or, barely any profit. Um, Suppose you're an investor right now and you say, okay, I am going to start buying this company in expectation of them turning around, keeping the machines on, whatnot. Suppose you say, yo, every day, every week, I'm gonna call Elite and say, hey, I'm gonna call the 3 different branches. Is your MRI working? Is your CT machine working? Has it gone down? Blah blah blah. Those kind of stuff. Suppose you call and they're like, nope, it's been working quite fine, sir. And then, they actually have, you saw like in the past, like what, March last year, they had that good quarter where they kept the machines on the whole time. Suppose Elite has a whole year where the machines barely go down. Suppose some of these tactics that they say work. You're buying this company that everybody is kind of against. They're like, oh, I don't want this company. And then, it could turn around.
Yeah.
There's always that risk. It's just, are you willing to take that risk? Is it a calculated risk? How much research are you willing to do? Like, think about it. Something you could actually call. You could call them today. Hey, has the machine gone down? Or you could be like a patient, say,
I'll be
oh, I have a
checking in
CT
maybe
scan I want to
once a
do.
week or twice a
It
month kind of
depends.
thing.
I mean,
I
it's up to
I wouldn't
you.
be calling them every day. I think that's a little too
It's
much.
up to you, man. It's
But
up to you. That's the thing. Suppose all your money was in this. It's all riding on this. You'd be like, yo, I need to know. Is the machine working?
yeah.
And
I
then
mean,
Elite also, something that you didn't really mention. They are setting up a new branch in Montego Bay. They hope to have it, I think, finished by the end of this year, is what they said. And I think it was an article or something. They're trying to set up a Montego Bay branch, and what they're hoping for with that Montego Bay branch is, Montego Bay is our tourism center. Tons and tons of tourists come through that section of the island. What they are looking forward, or they're looking for, is medical tourism. So medical tourism is actually it's a growing industry. I think I've seen estimates where they say it's actually even growing at a faster rate than just the general tourism industry. Because if you look at it, a lot of scans, procedures in Jamaica, as much as we might say, oh, the cost is high, if you compare it in terms of US dollars and you compare it to other countries, it's actually quite low. There's some estimates I've seen where they're saying it's 80% lower. Like, it's way, way less to do a scan here. And then even when you factor in the cost of the trip, like a flight or whatever, it still works out much, much cheaper. And then something else I even saw that I just saw today was that apparently in the US, as much as, they can get scans pretty fast, sometimes they don't actually get it as fast as you might think, because apparently if you don't have insurance and stuff like that, the wait time on these scans can actually be very long. Imagine you need a scan to know if you have such, like, to know something for some cancer or something. You need that scan, and they're telling you you're going to have to wait 2 months or a month. But then you could just take a trip. Say you live in Florida, a quick flight from Florida to Montego Bay or Florida to Kingston or whatever. You can get your scan done, get the report, and that's it. How much would you? That's actually, quite interesting business for them. Jamaica isn't. Well, I was even looking at something where there's this website that basically ranks different countries in terms of medical tourism. Right now, Jamaica is actually rated pretty low on the list. I think out of like 40 something countries, we're in the 40s. Like, we're not overall, we're actually pretty low.
So there's opportunities there. I guess that was one of the things that I believe was mentioned or was asked again when we were speaking with Keisha in terms of opportunities for medical tourism. It would be interesting to see where they both stand on that specifically. Because if we're ranked that low, that means there are definitely some opportunities for us there.
Definitely.
So our good friend David Rose here says that Elite is targeting 1 billion in revenue by 2024. That means by next year. So they've set a new target to reach for the end of June 2024. Speaks to what the company has been offering here. It says they had commissioned market surveys across the country to find underserved areas where it could set up its newest location. This also included Mandeville and St. Catherine, where it had outlined a 12-month timeline for the new branch. This is the one you were talking about, Matthew. Draxall is growing, but Montego Bay is having a higher population and underserved in some of the modalities. So they see it fit to go there next. All right. So that confirms what we were saying before. And then they sought to have alliances with the major hotels down there. I guess I would speak to the medical tourism option that you spoke about as well. So as a part of the move to reach that 1 billion target revenue, the company is looking at the opportunities which exist from public-private partnerships with the Ministry of Health and Wellness. So similar to what Apex is doing. However, the caution that the company would be selective about how this is executed due to extended time it takes for government entities to render payment, right? So it's that same thing that we had asked in terms of that challenge that you see with working with government. And we see quite a bit of company, well, a few companies that are listed who work with government, that challenge in terms of revenue collection, where you may have high receivables. The money is not necessarily seen as risk, but that receivable number may be high. I don't know how you feel about that, Matthew. For me, if the revenue is guaranteed, I can find and push and pull other levels to manage cash flow, but I'm taking the revenue wherever I can get it.
I mean, as I would say, getting the money, even if it's somewhat delayed, like that's better
Yeah,
than if you're choosing between that and no business. I would still take that.
exactly,
You
exactly.
know.
Yeah.
I always think
And they see
financing is. I want to look towards which of them, like if it's Apex or Elite, which really does financing for a lot of the, I guess, medical procedures, scans, and whatever. I think that is a big
as in
possibility.
allow persons to pay in parts.
Yeah. So
Hmm.
it's done for some things, but I think that really is a big gap. Like I know a lot of times, it really is. It can be done. I'd say whoever does it right, like there's a lot of money there on the table for them. It's just
Yeah.
that you have to know how
I
to
mean,
structure it because it's not
you-
every kind of
yeah,
scan or procedure you want
because
to do it for.
it's not primary business. I don't think they're gonna want to venture into that.
Hmm.
Because it's again another area
Well,
of
it doesn't.
managing.
No, I'm not saying it has to be them.
Mhm.
I'm saying they can have a partner with someone with their
So dollar
business.
or access, you're talking to medical loans.
It doesn't have to
I
be
think
them. Any
dollar
it
has
can
some
be.
medical partnership already,
Yeah, they
right?
do Medipay, but I think this let's say it's for more cosmetic stuff. So if you wanted
Ah, okay,
braces, uh, you know, a lift, those kind of stuff. Yeah.
okay. Um, I'm seeing if there's anything else here that would help us understand where they are. They have recognized the repeat occurrence of certain parts going bad. It's not just with us, but other entities that they support. They've gone beyond the manufacturer's recommendation service schedule so that they'll try to catch up some of the glitches before. That's always something being mentioned. Company is currently in the
Cause
process of purchasing a CT scan. Leet had mentioned that it's AGM, the possibility of a joint venture. Okay, this is interesting here. Would love to hear more about that. When asked if the option will be seeing any progress, it's an idea that they still have on the table, but it's not at the top of the list. Companies currently in top. Okay, so these are some of the things we saw already, right? So I'm gonna scroll to see if the outlook is positive once we overcome the downtime. Concentrate on our customer
hey, I
service
mean, I
and
don't
grow.
think they're lying. They're telling the truth.
Yeah,
If they fix it, Elite I think is can really do well. It's just
yeah. Because
when
I,
is
I
it?
do
I don't think it. I don't even think it's a question of if it's going to happen. It's really just when.
exactly,
It could happen in a
exactly.
year. Could happen in 5 years. That's the risk.
Yeah,
Suppose you put your money in this, and for 3 years they continue to, like, think about that. That
I'd
person
love to
buying, you were
see.
saying that someone was buying at 7 back then,
Yeah,
or say, or
I mean
let's even look, let's not even look as
the
far
fact
back.
that yeah, yeah.
Suppose someone
In
buying at like
2019,
$3 or $4. They're like, yo, they're seeing Elite. Suppose that person that saw, go to the March last year. What price was it at?
March last year. It's the 1 year. March 2022.
Uh-huh. And which quarter we said is that is for them again?
That's your Q3.
Like
It's around
Q3.
$3. Yeah.
Oh, it doesn't show you when reports came out.
Here, no,
Oh,
no.
hold on. We
Well,
should have
maybe
that.
listen to me. This tool is such that I haven't fully
You don't know how to use your own
understood.
tool?
Listen.
Come on, Jeremy.
There
Come
are
on.
there are a lot of things and options that I have. They offered to give me training. I said
Mm.
no, I'm good. So maybe I'll take them up on the
Uh,
offer to get the
uh,
training to use a tool. But it actually took a decline after the end of March last year. So maybe, well, maybe based on the report there, closed at 257 last April.
mm,
Went up as high as 460 last year though, um,
mm.
and then found its way back down.
So, so imagine that. So what we're saying, remember that we said March last year was that really good quarter for them. That quarter that they actually, managed to keep the machines on. They made a
Yeah,
lot of money. That report that have 45 days after that quarter ends, because it's
yeah,
unaudited, they released that report around mid-May. The price was like
yep.
$4 then. Imagine someone buying then. They're like, yo, I believe in Elite. I think they're gonna, this is the first sign that the machines are gonna be on. This is what the profits could be. They do their projections. They're like, yes,
Hmm.
this is it. All my money in it, $4. It's going to 8. It's gonna double. You realize that right now they might be feeling away because now they're down, significantly. But suppose in 1 year's time, Elite actually, suppose that
So
most
remember,
recent report that just came out.
when you're down 50%, you need 100% gain to break even.
Mm-hmm.
Just bear that in mind.
Suppose that person that bought then, um, suppose that report that we just saw where the Elite barely made any profit. Suppose that's the last one for like a long time, and then every
Yeah,
other report after that consistently they keep the machines on, they keep machines on.
yeah,
That's a lesson on timing because they could have bought at 4, been have to hold down while it's down. Suppose that, I mean, hopefully they can have enough money to buy more versus the person that buys now. They're like, you know what? Maybe they'll actually start doing it. They say like they're gonna, fix their machines. They've been telling
I
us
mean,
it for a
they
while.
seem to definitely be focused on overcoming the issues, right? So, as I said, I've never seen like it. I believe we've mentioned it almost 4 or 5 times as we're reading through, which means it's something that
Mm,
is on their priority to resolve. So
yeah.
that's definitely a good thing to
Okay, it
see.
has to be. It
Yeah,
has to be. But yeah, it's a lesson on timing. Because at the end of the day, if Elite goes to 8, the person that bought back then at whatever
yeah,
4 goes to 8, they're still in profit. But the person who could be buying right now, they're like, you know,
yeah.
just a lesson.
So, in terms of future outlook for both, I believe we went through, but we didn't get into the ratios and other stuff like we did for the FESCO versus RPL. I thought that, based on the feedback that persons gave us for that first one, we can kind of talk about more of what we did, and it would be more valuable to you in terms of where they're headed. With in terms of what we're expecting, so the new location for Elite, coming on stream, a period of machines working fine, um, maybe opportunities for partnerships. I believe that was what Elaine was alluding to here. Um, it would be interesting if, okay, I think that's another hospital that he's referring to. Um, okay, So Roswell is saying that Elite Diagnostics do good business. They have new equipment implementing. I buy Elite. It is it is well discounted. Huge amount of its shares was bought at 255 by a big investor. All right. So I'll check that out. Um,
Dynasty Gooden.
ah,
Was
okay,
it
okay, okay.
255? Oh.
So this is a question, right? We'll get to it in a second, right? So I'll leave it up on screen, right? So those are the things we have to look forward to for Elite. As I said, I'd love to get an interview with them. So I'll try to do that. I don't remember if I've tried, but I'll definitely try moving forward. And as I said, we'll be able to hear from Image Plus in under 2 weeks, right? So because their earnings call is coming up for Image Plus, building was recently acquired, so that's gonna take some time to develop. So we should be able to get some timelines on that one. They had their $1 billion quarter, right? Um, last last quarter, the Q4 for 2023, and they mentioned the different modalities that they're looking to explore, etc. So it's really to see how the two businesses develop. The only other company I can think of, even remotely in this space, would be Indies, but it's not the same type of service. So Aline was asking about industry average PE. You really only can average those two companies. So the average would be the 45 and the 10, right? So the average would be that's 55. Average industry average is 28, right? Based on those two, right? So yeah, so it's just to see, as Matthew was saying, it depends on your outlook for both companies. At least in the short term, it would seem that Apex is outperforming Elite in terms of revenues, profitability, etc. That's what the numbers show. Um, so it really would be interesting to see Elite be able to put some quarters together to see what maybe a full year would looks like in terms of their potential. Um, so yeah, that's my main takeaway. But the question here, Matthew, if Elite is discounted, what would you say about Image Plus? Because it's pretty much still at IPO price.
Wow, look at that.
Yeah,
Look at that. Imagine we could look back 3 years from now. The Apex months after listing. When did they list again? You said January?
January. Yeah, January 20th.
6 months after listing, still above IPO price.
Well, I mean, and also within the context of the state of the economy we're in, right? So that's also something I
When the
look at.
market is down.
Yeah, we're not going to use the word soft, but it's something, right? Um, so that is also something that I'm looking at. Now, I think that a year from now, 2 years from now, um, both companies actually are positioned to do well, because I had the perception that with just how, so I did just based on my own assessment. And Matthew, you and Theon, just you kind of remember just all the issues that I've mentioned to you guys in terms of me personally having to go to doctor, do scans, etc. I'm assuming more persons as they get older that this is a service that the average person is going to be needing to take advantage of. So I see both businesses growing. Um, I do see some sort of opportunity for both companies, right? Because we mentioned it for Image Plus, but Elite is also possible as well. Maybe they do an acquisition for maybe a smaller imaging company, and expand their scope for services, right? Because they both would have the opportunity to do that, I think. Um, yeah, Rosewell, I agree here. It came to market as an IPO price. Give the company some time. So let me look at how long it took Elite. Now the market, it was a different time back then, but it took, so Image Plus listed in Elite listed in 2018. For that year, it was actually um, well, I guess back then is
Yeah,
a
it was
bad
above
example.
IPO all.
Yeah, it was above, it was this about 50% though, so
I
it's
think
not
we're
really a lot.
consistently profitable then too.
Yeah, so it took a full year for it to start making its way up, right?
To the moon.
So bear that in mind, right? And I think it's just the type of company that the average investor may not think about in that way. That's my kind of thought about it. There are some companies that you don't naturally think about, right? Unless it's either recommended by your broker or you see something, come out about them, etc. Maybe you see an earnings call, you never know. But I think that's just something that it just takes some time, right? Um, but yeah, we'll see. Any final comments on either companies?
I mean, you touched on the new branch for Apex. I think they said they're hoping to finish the transaction or end of this quarter for them. I saw, I think it was either Observer or a Gleaner article that, they said it's going to take some time to actually
Yeah, man.
open up. I think they said maybe end of next year. Something that I guess was also interesting. They hinted towards there being a lot of additional space on the property. So it's not a property just for them to do the scans or whatever procedure at, but they also would want to rent it out to other businesses. I'd
Yeah.
guess that it would likely be more medical businesses, whether that's doctors' offices or something. Because, for example, Elite at their Draxhall branch, that they actually have a few doctors' offices that they rent out. So I think that could also be pretty interesting for them. It's just, it's going to take some time and stuff for that to come through. And yeah, they might say end of next year, but could even be longer than that. But I mean, for now, I think there is really just to continue um, to try to market their products, try to set up, as you said, like partnerships. So you partner with certain doctors' offices or hospitals so that you're you like as I said, like when you do a CT scan, most of the places, yeah, I guess some places might technically give you better reports than others or whatever. But say across the board, a CT scan, um, there's different things I guess you could or go or factor in to why someone would want to do the CT scan here. So location is a key one, cost is a key one, but also how like the brand, like the image of the brand. And I think Apex basically is the leader in that space. So they just need to make sure that they continue to lead that space. Their marketing needs to do very well. I think they will likely do some acquisitions. I'm excited about
I think
that.
so. I think so as well.
And excited about medical tourism, interventional radiology, nuclear medicine, all of that stuff. So I think Apex will do pretty well. I think they'll do pretty well, and I know you think so too, right,
Oh
Jeremy?
yeah, man, definitely,
It's a
definitely. I
shareholder.
think that um, I'd rather not say at this time. But I definitely think so. I think that they're just positioned to do well, and it's interesting because I think just in terms of breadth of services that they offer, I really like how they present themselves. I think it's very clear what they do. I think they try to educate you about the people, how the business operates, etc. Everybody who I try to get information from is usually very forthcoming. I'm trying to get similar information on the elite side, so I'm aware that because I have more information about Image Plus, I may be kind of leaning towards them in terms of just, I guess, seeing a clearer picture as to where they're headed. So I have to kind of manage that perspective. Um, but I would love to hear from Elite, see where they're headed, kind of fill in the blanks in terms of gaps of knowledge that I have, and then maybe we can have another conversation around them to see, how they really compare. I'm
I
trying
mean,
to
Earth
find
Apex reminds me about another pair of companies.
which
You know
company
which
that,
one?
which one.
Guess. One of them's very vocal, other one's very quiet, older.
Oh, come on, man. Oh boy. No.
Yeah.
No.
No, I think it is because if it like think about it. Um,
Mm.
you know that saying about if a tree falls in a forest, like does it make a sound or something like that?
Yeah, yeah.
Like with investing, um, like a listed company could do the most. Like it could do, strong profits, acquisitions, lots marketing could be really well. Like they could be doing a lot of stuff, but if no one knows about it or barely anyone knows about it, then
Yeah.
and as
So
much as I
I'll
guess
tell
you could
you.
use that to your advantage, that okay, I could be doing this while no one knows about it, and eventually you're hoping that people would eventually start to look at it. At some point,
Yeah.
like we need information to be out there in the market,
Yeah, I've
and
always thought that approach to be risky because if other investors can't see what you're seeing, who's gonna buy it from you at a higher price, right? So yeah,
so I think that's something with Elite and the other pair, Elite and Apex. If you look at it, Apex, as you said, they're doing earnings calls with you. So every single report, at least, how many subscribers you guys have? Almost 9,000 subscribers.
yeah,
So every report, say even, I don't know, half, a quarter people have it. That's that percentage of people that are going to at least be able to learn about
at
it and say,
least yeah, even if they don't watch the video, they're seeing that something is happening with the company.
yeah. So it's at least in people's minds, they're talking about it so that they can
Yeah,
possibly make that decision and realize, hey, this could actually be a company I want to own. But for
yeah,
Elite, you're saying like no one, like they're not doing earnings calls. It's only every quarter we have to wait for the report to come out. They'll do their usual thing. Oh, we're trying with the machines. We'll soon fix it. We're gonna try this new plan, or whatever. And yeah, like it's and I don't even well, yeah, I guess they have articles, yeah. But I think
well,
Apex.
yeah, let's see, right? Because as I said, I'm pretty much trying to message someone to see if I'd asked for the contact for Elite's CEO. I do
They even
have
brought in a new
actually
CEO, Like it was last year they brought in a
Elite.
guy who used to be at yeah, can't remember it was what's his name? I don't remember the name of the guy that used to be the CEO before this new guy. It checked the top 10. I think he's one of the top
Yeah,
or yeah. But basically they brought a guy, the current CEO, he is from he was from Natal Hospital. Like he was there for like
okay,
10 years, I think. And so they brought him in about last year. So
yeah,
I don't know. I hope he breathes some new
yeah.
life into the
So
company.
yeah, I mean, I'd definitely love to hear from them. I do have access to Stephen Gooden, so I'll ask him in case I can't get through to the CEO. Maybe he can help me. Um, so
He'll
let's
help you
see. All
access
right.
it. Nice.
Um, it's Chang is saying by end of year, IPCL will be trading higher than Elite. Whether it's a case where Elite will fall below or IPCL will rise above. So you know why we're doing the versus series to measure exactly what you just said, right? Because we're looking at very specific comparisons. I'm curious to see over year one, year two of both, for example, RPL and FESCO being on the market. I'm looking at Dollar and Access being on the market. I'm looking at Edifocal and One on One.
Oh, wait, you did
I'm
a dollar access video?
not yet, not yet, not yet. We've only done one versus so far, which is FESCO and RPL. This is the
Oh.
next one, and we're hoping to actually do the other one for next month, sometime in July. So we're going to be doing the dollar versus access one next. Um, so I want to see those comparisons because I really think that it's interesting to me. So though fundamental analysis is not the only way to invest, it's interesting to see a company that's performing better, that's trading less, right? And then this is not specific to the companies that we're looking at now, but just in general, because you could also look at that in the financial industry as well, right? So there are some financial
When you say
companies
performing
list.
better, you're just saying, oh, this one is making more profit, or you're saying relative to what the company was doing previously?
Well, so I'm looking at a couple of things, right? And that's why I typically go through the footprint of the company, services that they offer, etc. Right? So if it's similar, then if you're able to be generating more revenues and profits, um, so if you are a more profitable company with similar resources and footprint, isn't it reasonable to say that that company should be trading higher than the next?
Well, there's a lot of factors that go into it. At a cursory
Definitely,
glance, maybe, but you know.
definitely, right? And we know that it's the investors themselves who determines the price that a company trades, right? Shelley is saying Elite might be suffering from a generational gap. The older older persons not into the online. Well, again, publicly listed companies what I look at. So that shouldn't be
Well,
an
the thing
issue.
is, look at it. Apex just listed. Apex now has the tax break. Elite has been listed for years.
Well, 5 years
So
is their fifth year, so their tax break. We actually didn't mention that, right? So their tax break will come to an end, wouldn't it? Which would impact profitability even more.
but when you said they're listed, I mean, well, first 5 years, yeah,
2018,
first 5 years
2018.
none, and then well, they still get at least half tax if it is.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah,
But it's still
but
gonna
something
impact
like
profitability.
Apex already, as you said, is more profitable, and then
Hmm?
they have this. They're not gonna have to pay any income tax, corporate income tax for the next 5 years, reduced for the subsequent 5 years. It's gonna be
Yeah,
quite tough for Elite to keep up.
yeah, yeah. Take a long-term view of these companies. The current stock price will not be the same, just as in the case of SOS. The company was $2 in 2017. Definitely other factors for SOS, of course, but I agree, right? Long-term outlook on both companies. Both companies have the potential to be um, main market companies long-term, right? Just from their potential for growth, consolidation in the space, opportunities to expand across the region, all of those things, right? How different are Elite and IPCL? Are they the perfect substitutes as we make them out to be? Well, what we've been doing is going through the differences, right? So the offerings are at least 70% comparable, right? In terms of what they offer. Um, so I think it's reasonable to assess based on that state. I believe the locations it mentioned three locations for Elite. I think it's four for Apex currently, and they're building a fifth location.
I
Um,
think they're hope. Well, remember the new location Apex is building. They're hoping to relocate there, their main branch there.
yes, okay, so that's that'll
So
kind of maintain a number, but just a bigger space. Yeah, yeah, you're right there. Right. So that's why again, Chang, it to me just comes down to the numbers, right? So it's not like a case where it's FESCO and RPL where you could say FESCO's footprint is just so much different. It's really hard to compare them just on numbers because FESCO is further down the road, right? Um, 18 locations, whereas RPL is now currently working on their third and fourth, right? We saw the
like
one about some location.
Fesco
So
is mainly gas
that's
stations going into LPG. RPL is
yeah,
LPG going into gas stations. So
yeah, yeah. So I mean, it would be it's slightly different in terms of comparing those two, as opposed to I think the Apex and Elite comparison, right? All right, all right, guys. So I think that's it for this episode. I want to thank Matthew. Matthew, tell persons how they can reach you.
okay, yes. So you can subscribe to the Limitless podcast. You know, have the shirt and everything. At Jeremy, and you'll drop it in the description. Me and my
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. I
co-host.
will. I will. It's
Um,
it's Is Limitless merch available for sale? I see you showing the shirt you have,
No,
sir.
not yet. This one's an exclusive. Maybe at some point, yeah, but for now, one of a kind. So yeah, me and my co-host Dayan Sims, we host the Limitless podcast. We try to be a little more fun, and we have a YouTube channel too. Yeah, we just like to talk about investing, finance. Even Jermaine was on an episode. You guys can check it out. We'll have the link in the description. But yeah, thanks for having me, Jermaine. I'm sorry Theon couldn't make it, but I'm sure. Hopefully, I made up for him.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. I think it was a good conversation. We need to have a discussion around the indies news that came out. I'd love for you to join me for that episode as well. I think there's an opportunity for us to talk about that one. Maybe I'll record it later on this week, so I'm not sure yet. But guys, definitely take a chance to follow Limitless when you can. I know they have some episodes. They were able to meet with the CEO of JFP, something I've been trying to do for a long time, and they were able to get that interview. So kudos to them for that. Um, Even after their episode, I tried, still no progress. So I may have to ask them to connect me, but we'll see. But JFP is definitely one of those companies I've been trying to speak with. Imagine I was on a call, I was in a PSOJ meeting with Metric on the call. I specifically joined the call to mention Learn Grow Invest, so that maybe he'll connect the dot in terms of this person who's been reaching out to him. I thought that would have helped, but I'm sure that it's just a matter of timing, right? So that's what it comes down to. But point I'm making is that they definitely try to give you a different side of the market. So check them out whenever you can. And thanks again, Matthew. All right. All right, guys. So we have the CEO series episode with Alan McDaniel from SOS tomorrow. So we're gonna send that out. Be sure to check that out. If you have questions, you can go to the video, type in the comments your questions. If you're not able to make it live, we'll go live at 6 p.m. You've noticed that we've started to do a lot more episodes. Listen, is JFP smoothed out now? I just have to smooth out the lumpy. I need to take another look at JFP. I have not looked at them in a while. I do know that the last report that I looked at, and the news, what was it? I'm not going to extend the conversation because I want to wrap this up in 90 minutes. But I may take another look at JFP, but I want to do an updated review on Transjamaica. Somebody did request that. I want to look at Kingston Wharves. I want to look at which other company came on my radar lately. Actually wanted to look at Cygnus as well. So I'll see which one makes sense, but we are doing more videos now. So be sure to turn on notifications. We're trying to go live at least 3 times during the day. We aim for 10 a.m., but it depends on how the days go. And we're aiming for 3 to 4 videos in the evening. So just turn on notifications so you can check out those videos. As usual, don't worry about being able to make it live. We're just trying to do videos to give you as many updates as we can, and we can always continue the discussion in the Telegram group. All right. Final comment here: tax break will affect the company's profit. However, the company look to do more business and are diversifying these actions will prove to be a big factor. Well, so I assume that you're talking about Elite here. We just have to see how they address that, right? But there is potential for both companies. It just really comes down to how they're able to grow the business, right? Thanks to you all for watching. Please take a moment to like the video, subscribe to our channel if you're new here, and I'll see you in the very next video.
Learning is the key to successful investing. And who doesn't want to invest in some way?
Here at L.E.A.R.N. Grow Invest, we focus on financial education, all with the aim of sharing our knowledge on personal finance, investing, and building wealth. We do this on the foundation of our faith in God.
If a more holistic approach is what you need, check out our Grow Faith-based financial coaching program.
Find out more about us at learngrowinvestclub.com.